After the conclusion of Pokemon Journeys, we were given a special episode to end off the year known as The Distant Blue Sky, which was emotional to say the least. This episode focused on Ash adventuring with Pikachu like normal, but this seems to focus on the alternate version Ash from the I Choose You movie from 2017. He meets a boy named Haruto and they bond over the course of the episode. While this episode clearly covers the themes of gratitude, appreciation, loss, and love, did you know there's a deeper, hidden meaning behind this episode's creation? This was a nice special episode, but its true meaning may be even more significant than we realize. Let's dive in. Before we get started, let's quickly recap the episode and its events. The episode begins with Ash swimming and bumping into another trainer. He then tries to catch a Gyarados, but doesn't succeed. Although, not gonna lie, it would have been so cool for this episode to start with Ash catching a Gyarados. But not a big deal. Ash then battles a trainer with a Machamp and wins, and Pikachu says goodbye to its other Pikachu friends by giving probably the most wholesome high five with their tails I've ever seen. Ash and Pikachu continue to walk through the forest and pass rocks with Gengar carvings on them and then come to a big mysterious tree with a tunnel through it. Kinda reminds me of that tunnel from Pokemon Forever. They walk through and meet Haruto. Now right off the bat, he's intriguing because he says how he really wants to touch Pokemon despite living in a forest full of them, and it seems something is definitely off when Ash goes to shake his hand and Haruto hesitates and quickly just talks about Pikachu and how it must feel to touch Pokemon. Ash then helps Haruto try to touch Pokemon, but that doesn't work out so well for him, and this was actually pretty funny. We even get to see the classic gag of Ash running away from a swarm of Beedrill. In typical Ash fashion, he gets hungry and this leads him to stumbling across the cabin of Haruto's parents while looking for oran berries. It's shown that Haruto's father is a painter who always paints blue skies. Interesting. Haruto's mother gives Ash plenty of oran berries and 2 loaves of bread. Ash meets up with Haruto again and he eats his food, and Haruto says he's not hungry because watching someone else is like him eating too. Okay, strange. Ash helps Haruto retrieve his hat from a rambunctious Mankey and even gives up his hat to make it feel better. This is a pretty cool callback to the canon Ash who actually had this issue with his own Mankey. He ends up back at the cabin again and Haruto's mother is shocked to see her son's hat. When Ash says he met Haruto and that they're friends, the father doesn't believe him at first and even says Ash could be lying. It's revealed they tragically lost Haruto at a young age due to an illness before he could fulfill his dream of becoming a Pokemon trainer. And that is when the whole tone of this episode completely shifts. It gets super dark and sad very quickly. He would always play in the forest and have fun with the Pokemon. Haruto's favorite painting is even a scene of the sky they witnessed as a family together before he passed. Ash reunites with Haruto again before leaving and understands he's not entirely here, but Ash, being Ash, is able to use what seems to be aura to do one of the most wholesome acts I think he's ever done. He focuses his aura and grabs hold of Haruto and says he can feel him, and by putting Haruto's hand over his, Haruto is able to finally touch Pikachu. This was so beautiful, and I wanted to cry. They then say goodbye and the episode ends with Ash missing his chance to see his father. What a troll move, to be honest, man. And then Ash goes off the next day to try and battle Entei that's recently appeared in the area. So now that we've gone over the sad events of this episode, let's explore the real reason this episode is even sadder than it should be and what its true meaning is. So as we discussed earlier, this episode is all about Ash meeting Haruto, a boy who passed away at a young age who can't touch Pokemon. The main themes of this episode are loss and appreciation. We can clearly see that Haruto's parents are still struggling with accepting the loss of their son and moving on from this tragedy. They're still grieving the loss of their son and it's still a hard time for them, especially when it's directly brought up. We all know loss is hard in any capacity, whether it's losing a game, a competition, or something more serious like a friend or loved one, and I can very much relate to that. It's generally difficult to deal with loss. Sometimes we can brush it off and sometimes it takes a couple days to settle in and sometimes it affects us for weeks or even months on end. And depending on the severity of the loss, we may never truly move on from it. But what's followed by loss is the theme of appreciation. Haruto's mother makes this theme clear by saying that after the death of her son, she's learned to appreciate all the small things in life that we may normally take for granted because they won't always be around. Those small comforts, they don't last forever. She enjoys each blue sky she sees, enjoys every moment. But as much as this episode is about loss, love, and appreciation through the use of Haruto's death, I believe this episode is more so about Ash and the Pokemon fans. Recently, we've all had to accept and come to terms with the bittersweet truth that Ash will no longer be featured as the main protagonist of Pokemon anymore. He'll be leaving us soon. I think this episode was more so created as a way to comfort sad fans about Ash's departure from the anime. We can't deny that Ash leaving the anime is sad, but with becoming the world champion, it's about time for his character to move on. What more would he do in Paldea or just Generation 9 in general? There wouldn't be that many options for him. I feel this episode is meant to help us as fans ease more into accepting that Ash will be leaving soon. It delivers a message about appreciation, as in it's okay to be sad about Ash leaving, but that we should also be thankful for the 25 years of adventures we've had with him. And I 100% am. But if this episode did one thing exceptionally well, it's reassuring that Ash isn't really going to be completely gone. If we think about it, he'll always be with us, whether that's only in our memories, by rewatching our favorite episodes, or in the way he impacted us as people throughout our lives. The scene that truly encapsulates this message to me is when Ash helps Haruto to feel Pikachu. Now you could say I'm reading too much into this, but I personally feel like this is a wholesome gesture towards the fans to reassure us and comfort us that Ash will always be with us. He will always live on, and in the future I hope to introduce my kids to Ash Ketchum as a character and let them grow up with Ash in almost the same way I did. Everything about this episode was beautiful, from the interactions between Haruto and Ash, the messages from Haruto's parents, and let me not forget the fact that this episode was animated in the older Pokemon art style, which you can clearly see in the colors of the blue sky, the textures, and looks of the environments. This shot of the Pokemon Center, it really felt like an old school Pokemon episode, even down to having Team Rocket's OG theme and music in this episode. They even switch Ash's alternate universe cap to the OG Kanto Pokemon League cap at the end of the episode, which was super cool to see them do. If I had to give it a rating, it would be a 9 out of 10. I hope you found more meaning in this episode and were able to take away something from this explanation and analysis. But until next time, make sure you train hard, and I'll catch you guys later.